Call of Duty Magnus Warfare plays the greatest opening move in all of chess history, and after his opponent Niels Grandelius plays pawn e5, he only goes and plows down the field even further. It just gets better. This is the Grenka Chess Classic, but they're playing freestyle chess. Round 3, Magnus's opponent is the Swedish #1. Let's check out this awesomeness, because he just continues to plow down the field here. Who needs to play with the pieces? Here come the foot soldiers. He's boldly ploughing where no goat has ploughed before, and after f5, one of the top moves here is again pushing a pawn, but Magnus, what does he do? Develops a pony. Boo, we wanted to see the soldiers playing. Now we get bishop f7, but Magnus picks up right where he left off, defends that one. We see another pawn push, another pawn push, another pawn push, another pawn push. Only in freestyle chess can you get away with this kind of madness here. Both kings are already safe, of course, so the players already did a quick king safety fist bump, exploded it out. We now see the bishop develop, eyeballing that king. Magnus develops as well. This one enters the game, and after knight b3, a seahorse is spawned, chopped off the board, and the bishop recaptures. How's Magnus going to break here? The pawn structure's getting a bit locked. Well, he brings the queen over, and he's looking for that central break. So black shuts it down, and Magnus now leans back, whispers away. Do you even rook lift, bro? As he activates that one. I mean, this is the wackiness of freestyle chess, and he's looking now for this pawn push. So the bishop drops back, preempts it. Magnus does it anyway, and now rook d8's a great move. Eyeballs that lady, very uncomfortable, so Magnus opens the file. Looks absolutely insane to open the rook on your own queen. Will he blunder it? No, he is the world #1. Now we see castles, always funky in a game of freestyle, and after Magnus now completely forgets which way his knights are supposed to jump, some think he's even setting up for the next game, Niels feels emboldened and plays an awesome pawn sacrifice here, and it's f4. And the idea is, if you take, which Magnus didn't do, well, of course you open up the bishop and queen battery, but also you can start activating the black pieces. You open the f-file for the rook. The bishop springs to life. The knight is on its way. I mean, it's a deep sacrifice, right? There's no clear and obvious knockout. You just get great pieces for the pawn, or even two pawns if white dares to take. But we won't carry on because the pawn wasn't captured. Magnus instead plays pawn e4, so he does open the bishop, but at least keeps the f-file closed, stops this knight from hopping. Now we see bishop d4, and look at this, because after Magnus maneuvers, we get the pawn pushing. That one is no longer a bishop, it's Pope d4. What a monster in the center of the board. Magnus spins the pony around, and after b6, look at that. All the pawns on the dark squared complex. Niels only goes and unlocks himself a massive German wiener for his supper. They know how to do hospitality at the Grenka chess tournament. What a side quest. Unlocked. What a lucky guy. Beautiful, beautiful sausage. We now see bishop c3, pressuring that mighty bishop in the center. Queen c7's played. Magnus slides with the rook here, and after this epic pawn push, g5, of course, Magnus takes en croissant, bellows it in his best French accent. Excellent etiquette at the board. Now we see captures with the knight, and it offers a pawn. Why didn't Magnus take? Well, look at this. You just slip and slide up with the king, and you're turning the tables after rook h8. You know, swaps, and imagine this kind of attack with the queen rotating, or maybe first you swap the knights, then this one comes in. Big attack. This could get dangerous. Pawn is pinned, not what you want here. So, not captured. Magnus instead plays rook h5, sits on the head of that pawn like a sumo wrestler, Now king g7, we do get captures. It was a monster. E takes back, very natural to open the square for the knight, and this is what Magnus now fights against. This is such positional, good understanding. He plows forth with pawn e5, and it stops black from blockading on that square in the future, but it's very double-edged. You know, you could play this move here, wasn't selected, gang up on the pawn, and if the white queen centralizes to defend, well, you can start going on these crazy maneuvers, open the bishop, it drops back here, then you can attack the queen, blah blah blah. Black's actually doing pretty well here. You've got the pawn covered. This is a protected passer, could get dangerous in future. This rook's a bit clumsy and offside. We'll pause the line there, but black stands a bit better. However, all of it missed. We didn't see the move of rook d to e8 as shown. Instead, knight e7. Now you hit the rook, it drops. You hit the rook again, it comes back. Bit of tickle here, fine, very good. But Magnus doesn't want the draw. He wants to play on. He's up on the clock. So he retreats all the way home. And now Nils goes wrong here. His best way to play is with bishop g6. Take control of the really key diagonal and force this swap of bishops and so on and so forth. But he misses it. He plays the move of knight g6, a big mistake, and it was almost inevitable that he would crack. Almost inevitable as the return of Hans Niemann as well. There he is, strolling into the tournament, young Master Niemann, and with his more experienced overlord master Vladimir Kramnik by his side, and not just training Niemann now, a supporting coach, but also keeping a handle on the fair play stuff. Rumour has it he's already patted down 14 players, done the procedure 19 times, even done 4 cavity searches when needs must. What a guy, doing it for the crowd, doing it for the fair play. Love to see them back. We now see Queen f5 played, and this is the point. White now gets the invasion because you didn't go bishop g6 and there's so many threats. You know, if you go queen e7 to stop this square from being checked on, then you can come here and there's big problems. Sure, you can block with the rook, but the bishop spins round. Here's a sample line, check, and all the pieces get into this huge bind. You know, here's one sample. We'll pause it there. There are these tactical breakthroughs soon coming. The black position is just a complete bind of seaweed. So we come back after queen f5. Instead, Nils tries to go for the tactical randomizer with bishop takes on c4, opening the attack on the queen and the bishop. What's your plan now? Surely not queen c2, very meek. No, queen h5. Magnus says fine, take my bishop. This was the game continuation, because then I'm crashing through with check and I'm winning back the piece and then some. Now if the king steps here, well, you get whack bang walloped with knight g5 check, and it actually leads to a mate. You know, here's one sample line, you're absolutely toast. So we come back here, no king f7, the king steps here, the knight drops with check, queen blocks, but this is Magnus's point. Don't take the ladies off the board. This is when you need to attack, and he plays it with queen e6 check. So the rook blocks. You could have gone with the queen, just a different game. Now the knight's attacked on f3. There is also a pin, remember, with that pawn, but Magnus finds the excellent. There's only one move here to keep the significant advantage, and he does it. Rook h6. Awesome stuff, because if bishop captures here, then you close this trap on the queen and king with rook g6. Not only protecting from the mate here, but of course you're going to pick up the queen, and white does stand better, especially with this very dangerous supporting pawn. So we didn't see bishop takes on f3. Bishop d3 played to cover that all-important square, but Magnus can now go a-mopping. It's what he does, and it's not just any pawn, it's the base of the chain. Such a critical one. So this rook doubles on the file. Now we get this pawn dropping off the board. Bishop e4 renews the threats, but awesome full board awareness from Magnus. Does he sidestep the king or something meek and boring? Probably bad. No, he plays rook c to c6. given the double exclams of awesomeness, because if takes, then once again you're shutting the trap on that queen. So no takes played. Instead, rook b7 hits the queen. It takes on d4. Nils is perilously low on time, around a minute at this stage. Bishop attacked. Again, if takes, you've got the same tactical problems. So we see bishop takes here, and Magnus doesn't routinely capture back. No, he flicks in the check. We see this one block. Now he pushes the pawn. I mean, this is awesome calculation, because after the queen attacks the rook, does he move it? Does he take the bishop? No, he doesn't. He pushes forward with the juicer, running like Forrest Gump. The rook saves itself from that pawn's attack. And you'd love to make a knight here, but of course bishop takes. So instead, Magnus takes off this bishop. Now he's threatening to make the queen here. So we see the check down here. King h2. The rook takes before the baby girl can be made, probably more likely than a knight. Now Magnus checks. The king's given the run around here. Looks like it's surviving with these rooks, but look at this. More checks. It's devastation on the dark squares, and here comes the pony to complete the task of killing the king. There's a threat to take on f7, but even more powerful. After f3, black is completely paralyzed. This is just a randomizer. Magnus doesn't take on f7. If you see a good move, look for a better one. He goes knight g6. And this forced resignation, because he's threatening this mate in one, using the knight and rook. And say you take the knight, trying to stave off the attack, well then you can recapture with check. If the king runs this way to stay with the rook, then there's check, king goes, and that is a checkmate. Coming back here, say you tried to run to the corner, well then you don't even need to take the rook. You can check. And how do you do this? Well, there's one way to shut the trap. Brutal finish there from Magnus Carlsen, and he goes 3 for 3 now in his first 3 games of the tournament. Here's the current results on screen. Hope you enjoyed this one, and have a look at the video on screen for some more epic chess. Cheers.